Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Focus on Outcomes. Patrick, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Good to see you.
Good to see you. We're excited to get this podcast back out, and our intention is to really focus on outcomes and highlight what our clients are doing or what organizations are doing to help their communities. But this month, we're going to take a little different approach and focus on hopefully avoiding poor outcomes. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so we want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's a great topic. We focus on preventing or mitigating the impacts of cyber 12 months of the year, but this month we put a spotlight on building the awareness, the education for our clients to make sure that, again, they don't have a poor outcome as it relates to cyber security.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's an increasing challenge for our customers and all organizations, big, small, public, private, for-profit, nonprofit. The bad guys are getting better. They're making a lot of money doing this, and we need to take all steps that we can take to try to prevent bad days from happening. So what are some insights that we can share with those listening about being cyber aware?
I think the main part is having a foundational knowledge of how breaches start, and the overwhelming percentage of them starts with emails and human error. 91% of breaches start with an email. Over 74% of data breaches start at human error. So getting people to believe that awareness piece, that your staff actually does play a critical role in being preventing cyber incidents is probably the first step, is taking it seriously and saying that, okay, that cybersecurity awareness training, having the awareness to look out for types of spoofing emails, being able to report those things of that nature, having a good cyber culture, I think are worthy first steps. We're not here to talk about all the fancy tools and things of that nature, right? Those are important. There's a lot of smart people making those decisions, but the staff, the people that sit down at their keyboard every day, they play a really big role. So helping our clients understand that, I think, is a main part of that, right?
We talk a lot to clients of all sizes about that this is a real risk. And I think SMBs, one of the challenges that we have with SMBs is they don't think that they're a target. They think it's just reserved for the big guys, the targets, the pipeline, the airlines, those types of things. But the reality is the SMBs are the primary target.
They are. And one of the reasons why they are a primary target is they don't have the proper tools or processes or resources in place to be able to mitigate or prevent those, right? So they don't believe that they're a target, so they don't make the investment in security, which leaves them as pretty easy targets, right? So, we mentioned it in our first episode. Unfortunately, some SMBs don't take cybersecurity as seriously as they should until it impacts them, whether or not it's their own business or, a neighbor or a friend. I think we're seeing a trend, though, that the more and more business owners that we talk to in SMB, they are starting to acknowledge that they need to make a continuous investment in this. So I think that we're changing the narrative on that a little bit at this point.
You talked about users and, that huge percentage of breaches and bad days, incidents, events start from somebody clicking on an email. We've kind of coined a little phrase of pause, consider, verify. Talk a little bit more about that guidance that we give and what an individual user at any level in an organization can do to help their organization.
A lot of phishing emails, they tend to come in during busy hours, over holidays, late in the day, where people are distracted. People take a little bit of their focus off of trying to look for or identify potentially a spoofing type of email, phishing type of email. So, the pause, consider, verify is, slow down, make sure that this is a legitimate email, can, make a consideration for it. It might not be, that maybe my boss isn't actually asking me to do something that he normally never asks, and then verify in a different way. So, Jeff, if you were to send me an email asking for something that I thought was a little odd, maybe I'd send you a Teams message or send you a text message, walk down to your office and say, hey, did you really just ask me to do that? Right. So having that second step of verification, similar to what we talk about in MFA, is what we're preaching with the pause, consider, and verify, which is hard to do because we're in this day of age where people want to move fast. We're talking about tools to make people more effective and more productive, but traditional slow down, make sure that you think of all different angles on this, and then verify when it's something that seems a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah, specifically, the thing that we're seeing a big increase in terms of a trend is what looks to be a shared file through like the Microsoft Office 365 platform. That's not an attachment, it's a link. And when you click it, it takes you to a web page and is asking you to enter in your credentials. And if it's coming from a source that you weren't expecting a message to come from, and it seems a little bit odd, it probably is.
Right.
And so you need to slow down, especially if it's asking for you to enter in your Microsoft credentials.
Right.
Once you enter that in, we don't know when or how they're going to use those credentials against you, but we're seeing an increasing trend in that happening.
And especially for clients that don't have a layered security approach, meaning that they just have maybe one component of a cybersecurity plan, that there's not then a tool that can able to detect if you've now allowed somebody into your Microsoft ecosystem, right? It's why we talk about having the redundancy and the different layers, because we all understand we can't just have one type of cybersecurity tool.
So obviously organizations need to combat this. We've talked about encouraging their users to be aware. You just mentioned that layered security approach. What else can an organization do to really build like a cybersecurity culture within their workplace?
We talked a little bit about that on the front end with maybe a first step is acknowledging that this is something that we take seriously. Security is critical to our business, but also promoting a culture that makes people understand that we understand this can happen and we need to report this and be able to get on top of it as quickly as we can. Issues might happen, but how you react to them and how quickly you react to them can really make a huge difference as it relates to breaches. So, or incidents or events. So I think encouraging your staff to not only be vigilant and look out for these type of things, but also if a mistake is made or if you think you did something that was wrong, don't just kind of hope that it goes away and that nobody noticed when it comes to letting somebody into your Microsoft or clicking on a bad link or things of that nature, right? We all can make mistakes. It's probably what you do after you make that mistake that probably matters to the people that employ you. So promoting that as an organization, I think, is important.
Don't compound the mistake by keeping it to yourself, because really bad things can happen. When you go to that site and you enter your credentials and a document doesn't open, tell somebody. Time matters,
right?
And we can, if you're a partner of ours, we can go change your password, remove access very quickly, and probably stop a really bad thing from happening.
Exactly.
That is critical. So talking about cybersecurity awareness and the things that people can do is critical. I think one of the reasons that we're having more conversations about this is that cybersecurity insurance has become a critical thing that most organizations are considering, but it's becoming harder to get because the bad guys are getting better, and insurance companies don't sell this just for their own good. It's to make money and to ensure that they're providing a good product. So, what are some things that organizations should be thinking about as they're preparing to renew a cyber insurance policy, and how can an MSP help?
Yeah, it's a great question. Cyber insurance landscape is still somewhat new, right? Car insurance has been out for a very long time. Homeowners insurance, cyber insurance is relatively new as a comparison. And I think those providers they're still kind of trying to figure out exactly what they need to require, how much coverage people might need, and what the risk level is associated with that. In the infancy of cyber insurance, it was probably a pretty bad business to be in. They didn't require a whole lot of security, probably gave you policies that were a little risky and paid out pretty well. And we've seen a lot of incidents and breaches. So over the last few years, those insurance companies have started to require more security in order to mitigate their own risk. So what we're seeing today is these requirements on your cyber insurance renewal form that are going from, in the early days, maybe it was just sure whatever. Now it's security awareness training, multi-factor authentication, endpoint protection, talking about backups, SIM SOC tools, things of that nature. It's become a very technical document that probably most small to medium-sized businesses that don't have a relationship with an MSP or an internal IT department need some help, filling out and understanding what coverage is right for them and what this actually does mean for their business. So I encourage them to, reach out to a trusted MSP. At Elevity, we have our VCIO resources that can help guide you to making sure that you have the coverage that you need. It's your decision as a business on determining how much you need, but what are the requirements that you'll need from an IT perspective in order to, execute on whatever you might need from a policy perspective.
You've talked about the layered security approach several times. We promote that. Our standard solution has everything from security awareness training so the users know what to look for in those bad emails, multi-factor authentication, endpoint detect and respond, a SIM-SOC, and then a backup and recovery solution. So if a bad day happens, we can get the data back that the customer depends on and they need. So I'm an SMB. I've got a limited budget. Security is important. I can't go with the full layered approach. Of course, I prefer that, but I can't. What should somebody start with? If they have to have one thing and they can't afford all, what should they start with?
I don't know that I am going to give the answer that a CISO would give. I would probably recommend MFA. Now you're at least protecting that. You're putting a layer in to protect email. We know that the overwhelming percentage of breaches start at email. So it makes sense to protect the email first. Somebody else might say EDR, protect the endpoint, things of that nature. But protecting the endpoint without protecting the identity and the data associated with it seems a little silly. But I don't recommend only doing one thing, right? This is a unique situation. Maybe you need to hire better salespeople so you can have bigger budget. I don't know.
Maybe recommend that.
Yeah.
But MFA is kind of like a key to the front door, right? It locks the front door. That doesn't mean that somebody can't open it. Doesn't mean that some bad guy can't get the key. But it's going to slow them down at least. It's
going to slow them down. And it's going to lower that percentage, right? It's not going to remove or eliminate all risks, right? There's no tool that we can buy, even the fanciest layered security approach, that's going to eliminate the existence of a threat. But you build in certain layers and now you are decreasing the impact that you might have from a breach. One of the reasons why we buy insurance.
So it's October. It's Halloween. There is no silver bullet that will take down a vampire as it relates to security.
There is not.
So there is not. That was my one little tie into October, Halloween. Creepy.
What's your favorite part of like fall? Are you like a pumpkin spice latte guy? Do you like dressing? You don't dress up for Halloween, I guess. Did you as a kid? Like when your kids were little?
I would really like to dress up as Halloween and scare the kids that come to my front door. But I never quite get around to it. And it's kind of mean, I guess. But
did you guys ever do like family costumes, like themed?
No.
Yeah, we're not that kind of family either.
But I do like to go to a pumpkin farm and, buy a pumpkin, do the corn maze.
Course. Apple cider donuts.
I enjoy that. Yes. Big fan of that.
But you like when the leaves start falling, it gets cold, things of that nature?
I do like as the leaves fall. It helps that I found a service that'll come and take care of all of that for me now, which is a little splurge. Is that the right word? Splurge?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, thanks for joining us. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Please spend some time with your organization, with your teams, so that people are paying attention and trying to limit bad days from happening. If you need assistance with that, Elevity is always here to help. If we're already helping you, thank you for giving us a chance to do that. And we will be back next month with another episode of Focus on Outcomes.
Can't wait. Thanks, Jeff.
See you next time.